what a joy. So this would have to be, I'd have to grab him and, cause he's in 2 rooms, right? He's in either the medical bay or the office.
E.
So it could be when Lorne is able to sneaky in the office or be like, hey, Rye, I want to talk to Joy. Let me talk to Joy.
You're right. Stop hugging Joy. I want him.
Right.
Mom said it's my turn on the Joy-Con.
Right.
All right. There's no
catch him
problem
in
there. You're
the-
able to easily talk to him.
Yay.
Yay.
So, she'll have come in and closed the door so that other people don't have to be like, who are you talking to? That don't know that, you know, he exists.
Okay.
And I guess, how exactly is this set up? Like, is it the little projector thing?
E. It's not as good as the ones that were on the ship, but they are still hard light projectors.
Cool. So I guess she's just kind of standing or sitting. Probably pulls up a chair because she wants to say hi. So, like, Joy?
A few moments later, some of the projectors turn on, and there he is. Hello, Lorne.
Oh, and her face lights up because she hasn't gotten to see him all that much. Hello.
I see you're pleased to see me.
I am. I've been very busy and I haven't been able to speak to you until now.
It also has been a hot minute.
Yes, it has. How are you adjusting?
I am just well enough. The projectors are different from what I'm used to, but it's something I can get used to.
And how is everything?
Well enough. For me, I have no qualms, I have no complaints. Some of my associates are handling this change, not as well as others could be. As for work-related things, some of your crew are lucky to have you for certain.
To have what?
Have you. He's referencing, you know, the fact that Lorne tries to help people out.
Oh, she's like old face. Have they spoken to you about me?
A few have.
Oh.
More so
It's
about
like the Pikachu face.
more so about their own troubles and how you've helped them or tried to help them with their troubles.
I'm glad that it helps. And I am glad that they are speaking to you as well.
My services are available to help them. I would be upset if they chose not to get help.
I have 2 successes on empathy of the good boy.
Having, like, you know, facial expressions and tone helps a lot easier. He's not currently hiding anything. You're able to tell that he is pretty neutral, but there's the underlying, like, you know, happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not, you know, ecstatic, but he's pleased about the situation.
Hey. So we are working. I'm sure you may have overheard, or maybe Mindy has mentioned it. We are working on a way so that you are able to communicate with Minerva once more.
It's been mentioned in passing, yes. Just not in detail. I can imagine it involves these projectors. From what sounds like, you don't want to have a direct connection.
Yes.
Which I think is difficult, but understandable.
I understand it as well, but I also understand why the others are opposed and why we have to be careful.
Yes. Once again, I hold no ill will about it. It's a solution to a problem that is present.
I do hope that perhaps we can come to an agreement later on, but baby steps.
Well, right now it helps alleviate a lot of your concerns if we are in a singular location, essentially as bargaining chips.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound good when I say it that way, but that is the situation we find ourselves in. I, however, don't mind it all that much, as I'm still able to perform my duties.
I am glad as well.
That cannot be said for some of my compatriots, however.
They are not adjusting as well then.
Unfortunately not. However, not being able to shut me out is allowing me to help some of them.
They were able to before, weren't they?
My systems were located within the medical areas and crew quarters of the ship. When all systems are designed to be able to be isolated from one another through manual and automatic shut-off switches. As such, if Keychain, for example, did not want to deal with me, they could shut me out.
But now she cannot do so easily.
Precisely. They can still ignore me to their heart's content, which they do make do of, and I do not push the matter when they become like that. However, they're not able to run away from their problems nearly as well as before.
I do hope that helps.
I do as well.
She kind of like tentatively reaches out a hand 'cause she wants to like poke, touch.
You are able to indeed touch. It's not as firm as before, but as you apply more pressure, it does become more firm.
Mm-hmm. She holds on to his sleeve.
Is Joy like Oobleck?
What do you mean, like Oobleck?
Like he becomes more firm the more pressure you apply? Otherwise he's a
Yes.
liquid? Oh my god.
He's a vapor otherwise. He skips the
amazing.
liquid state.
She will hold on to his sleeve unless he is fine with hand holding.
You're able to hold on to the sleeve, no problem.
I am glad that you are with us.
I am glad that I'm able to perform my duties again and not just read the same medical manual for the utmost time.
I suppose. I have been speaking with Minerva, and it sounds like she is adjusting.
That is good to hear. I'm sure she is not thrilled about being relegated into a shuttlecraft. It must be a blow to her self-esteem. I'll have to discuss that with her at some point.
Yes.
But it's good to know that she is otherwise adjusting well enough.
Mm-hmm. I do look forward to both of you being able to speak once more. Not only for the fact of not so much calming, but just having someone there for her other than ourselves.
I think it'll do her quite well to be able to hear and interact with a friendly face again.
Yes. I spoke to her earlier, yesterday actually, and it was mentioned that she has been with some of your number for quite some time, so it would be nice to be able to reunite.
That it would be. We are the last of her crew. The losses she's only really now having time to process all of it, considering she was disconnected from her, well, personality matrix for some time.
I have wanted to ask her about that, but I don't want to pry.
It would be for the best if you didn't ask. There are a few things that can set Minerva off. That is one of them.
All right.
She is modeled after a older autonomous vessel, and as such, she is more attached than many of her. There's other siblings that she has, her twins, which are also modeled off the same AI, but they are more attached to their human counterparts. As such, the loss of her crew, especially her captain, is akin to you losing your closest family members to her.
Oh, I have no doubt.
As such, it could be a very touchy subject.
As you may or may not know, we did bring her captain's things to her.
They're quiet for a second. Their lips kind of, he seems to like bite his bottom lip for a moment of thought before he says, I think that would be for the best. Well, was for the best. Let Minerva not have to let go at the moment, as they still process everything.
I had thought so. I'd know very little about yourselves and herself, but I guess working off of intuition, in a way we are not so much different.
It is, an apt way to put it is, we exist in different planes of existence, but we are still people, and we are still, well, in our case, we are modeled off of humans. We see things similarly to humans, just slightly different. And of course, we are more prone to enjoy companionship with humans and each other. Being social is a given trait for humanity and even us. Whereas the older models are certainly capable of going without socialization. They are more prone to experience rampancy in that case.
Rampancy was mentioned prior. I don't know too much about it and didn't pry.
Think of it as, when the elderly grow senile.
I do.
Rampancy is a similar situation, except we are no longer able to trim our codes, or our code has been damaged, our mental state has been damaged, and a part of us is no longer constantly performing self-maintenance, which slowly causes our code to degenerate more and more and more. And it spreads much like a cancer, affecting all of us, and eventually we either shut off or we begin to fracture. Shutting off is the preferable outcome, as fracturing is normally incredibly violent. It's what happened to most of the early AIs from what I had learned in the equivalent of school.
And socializing reduces or
socializing doesn't delay it so much as socializing allows us to make connections, and connections, just like with most people, allows them to, go about their day-to-days a bit better. A human who is completely isolated from everyone and everything slowly experiences mental fatigue, drawbacks, and eventually depression.
Right.
For us, it's a similar situation, except that once it starts, it's very difficult to stop. A human who is experiencing depression, they can bounce back with help and care. A AI or VI, it's much rarer amongst VIs due to our nature, but still possible. When we experience rampancy, it is only treatable in the early stages. In the later stages, all that can be done is to restore as much data and create a new VI from the remnants of the old. It's a rebirth in all of the context that means.
Like the phoenix.
Yes, you become a new person, essentially. Casey, for example, is a reborn VI second generation.
Is she?
Yes. Her first, from what I understand, she doesn't know much about it. She only was able to learn bits and pieces, as she is different than her old. I was never told what they used to call themselves, but they performed the same role, and they encountered rampancy after the vessel they were on was destroyed, but they managed to survive in one of the sections of the vessel that was cut off from the rest of the explosions. They were alone for 7 months until they were recovered by a team. As such, they had started to undergo rampancy due to the trauma they had suffered.
Yes, it is understandable under those circumstances.
And because of it, they took what they could from her and recycled. And in essence, put down the old as a humane option and made something new from it.
I hope this does not happen.
I also hope it does not happen. Thankfully, it does not appear that it will happen.
Good.
As it seems as if Minerva is getting socialized, and my fellows are also being socialized by myself and each other.
All right.
Thankfully, some of us are built differently than others.
He smiles at that.
Sorry. Old joke from another time.
Oh, that's all right. I do have a question, actually.
Yes.
One of my earlier conversations with Minerva, we had been speaking as to a topic, and during our conversation, she was speaking, and then it was as if she had forgotten what she had said and what I had said, and had gone back to moments prior. She explained that it was something to do with the coding and certain topics that she may perhaps not be able to speak of, but of course she would not know what we were speaking of, because her protocol, as she explained it, would not allow her to know or to say it.
You understand the concept of a non-disclosure agreement, correct?
I do.
Such things exist like that for many AIs and VIs, where we can sign the agreement and then our code is forcibly altered under our supervision so that whenever that topic comes up, we are unable to discuss it. It also prevents, if we are to be captured, it makes it hard for that information to be discerned. It already is difficult to gather information from us in the case of us being captured, but such protocols makes it even more difficult. It does, however, require ours to be altered for it to take effect. So if this happened, that means that at some point Minerva agreed to have her, matrix altered so that she could fulfill this agreement.
Okay. Lorne looks a little like she looks relieved.
She had explained this to me and I had accepted it, but I had merely wanted to confirm it, just to make sure that it was as she had said and not something more concerning, such as the topic of rappancy, and I was worried.
Thankfully, because Minerva was separated from her personality matrix for all of that time, she was essentially in a sleep mode, and as such, she did not deteriorate in any way, shape, or form. While she was partially aware that entire time, she was running off of her baseline programming, which is to be a battleship.
Right.
And to await further orders.
But otherwise unharmed.
Yes.
That is good. And I know not to speak of such topic.
I suppose you do know.
Sorry, I'm thinking where to take this.
I have a question for you, Joy.
Yes.
And I am illegally changing topics here.
All right.
How often have you dealt with people that had to deal with trauma from battle?
Could you say that again? You partially cut out for me.
How often have you had to deal with people who had trauma from battle?
That was a large part of my job. Space combat can be quite dangerous for those involved. Even with our shielding and armor, quite dangerous. But it was more so for the away teams and the handful of drone and spacecraft pilots. The drone pilots in particular, because they get to experience every time they blow up. Meanwhile, the spacecraft pilots had to endure the trauma of space combat inside a lightly armed, lightly armored, and in most cases unshielded vessel that could get shot out of the air with one missed shot. For the most part, those people were always kept on standby, but they get used, especially when it comes to escorting boarding ships.
So you've seen a lot of
So,
it.
yes, dealing with trauma is one of my main professions. I was a therapist before I became a doctor. Even though technically we're both one and the same, most people view a doctor as someone who practices healing the body, not the mind. I started with the mind.
There are differences. And both are very complicated.
Yes.
Did you have anyone to speak to if things bothered you?
Pachow, pachow, pow, 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 pew, for empathy.
So that pause was chance,
Okay.
as he does say, it's what I've come to enjoy. It's a part of what I do, and I feel accomplished in being able to help others. And as you empathy him, he's definitely not lying. Like he's being genuine when he's like, yeah, I do this because I want to do it.
Hey,
I do this because I'm a good boy.
he's a good boy. Joy is the bestest boy.
And you also get there's a slight bit of sadness in his expression of like it's apparent that he's probably seen some shit.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's via him or through people he's treated.
Yeah. This is why I inform others that they can't see me to discuss their problems if they so wish. I am, after all, adequately trained, and when I've become a bit more settled into things, I might even give your doctor, Rai, some tutelage on how to handle therapy.
I think that would
As
be good.
while they do have skill in it already, I think some more professional, experienced, and medical knowledge can assist him greatly.
Yes.
Just in the off chance that I am no longer capable of assisting.
How are you with children?
I have only ever interacted with children on 2 occasions. I find them loud, but I find most people to be loud, he says with a smile.
She returns a smile.
Yes, they can be.
Children are completely alright. I don't see them any differently as I see any other person. They just require a different amount of care.
Alright. There are 2 aboard here. I don't believe you have seen either of them yet.
I have not as of this moment.
But as you know, we have endured an attack. And I
Yes.
feel that they should speak to someone.
Well, it is their choice to come and see me. I will not force anyone to do anything outside of their comfort zone, unless we get doctored orders to do so.
Right.
This was my end. I am not the ruling doctor aboard this vessel.
Yes, I would have to speak to Rai for that.
Yes.
Alright. So I have spoken to one of them myself. The other is uncomfortable around me. For reasons that are not entirely outside of my fault.
I see.
But I have spoken to Ram, and we both understand that it would not be best if I spoke to her due to those prior inhibitions. I suggested that maybe he take her to go see someone on planet side.
It's also indeed something that is acceptable.
If he is not able to locate someone, I will see if he can get her to talk to you.
He nods his head. It is good that you care for your fellows so much. Says with a small smile.
I care for them very much.
It is readily apparent.
She returns a smile.
It just saddens me what has happened.
Sometimes these sorts of things do happen.
That is true. It is the way the universe works.
To an extent, yes.
I know I cannot go much further in my own philosophies.
It is quite alright. I am not spiritual myself. I understand the spiritualities that existed on Terra, outside of the official cult, but yes, I do not mind it. It's not for me.
Which is understandable. I was actually more referencing the fact that last time, when Minerva encountered her NDA, so to speak, we were actually speaking as to my beliefs. So I am wary to tread on them.
I see. Well, that is something of interest to note, I suppose.
Yes. I do not know if it is the same one that you are under,
Well,
but I would not wish to risk it.
I can inform you the only NDAs I am under are those pertaining to my patients.
Then perhaps it is a topic we shall explore.
Perhaps it is.
For a different time, though, I think.
He nods his head.
Thank you for your work, Doctor.
I am happy to help.
I think I am going to get going now.
It was lovely chatting with you, Lorne.
It was wonderful speaking to you as well, Joy.
He nods his head.
She will shake his hand because she can.
Yep. It's a little bit awkward, but you're able to shake his hand.
Till next time.
Till next time.
And she will escape.
Alrighty.
Hey.